Hi, and welcome back. My name is Dr. Sarah Hill. I'm a community pharmacist and certified essential oil specialist. And I wanted to talk to you today about something that I get a lot of questions on, and that is CBD oil. You've probably heard of CBD before. It's gained a lot of popularity over the last couple of years. CBD is an acronym. It stands for cannabidiol, and CBD is what's known as a phytocannabinoid. So phyto, the prefix of that word, just means that it comes from a plant, and cannabinoid tells us that it's a chemical that interacts with the endocannabinoid system. Now, all of us have an endocannabinoid system. It's a messaging system, so it's comprised of receptors and enzymes, and then these ligands, known as neurotransmitters or cannabinoids, interact with those receptors to elicit different responses in your body. So there are two different types of receptors in the endocannabinoid system. We have CB1 and CB2. CB stands for cannabinoid, and the CB1 receptors are found mostly in the brain and central nervous system, and CB2 receptors are found in the organs and periphery and immune system of your body. So what interacts with a CB receptor? The answer is cannabinoids. So it can be either phytocannabinoids, like what we talked about with CBD, or something called endocannabinoids, which are cannabinoids that are produced within your body. And examples of that would be anandamide or 2-arachidonoglycerol. And the different ligands interact with the different receptors, causing different responses. So interaction with the CB1 receptor is what causes the euphoric and psychoactive effects that are associated with marijuana and cannabis use. And that is triggered by a phytocannabinoid called THC, which you may or may not have heard of. The full name for THC is 9-delta-tetrahydrocannabinol, which is why we call it THC, because that's a lot of letters. And THC, because of its interaction with CB1, is why you're going to be getting those hallucinogenic effects from use of cannabis or marijuana. So CBD interacts indirectly with CB2 receptors, not CB1 receptors. So that's good because you're going to be getting the effects on immune function and digestive systems, cardiovascular health, without getting the psychoactive effects from the interaction with CB1 receptors. So CBD does not actually bind to CB2 receptors. What it does is its presence increases the concentration of anandamide, the endogenous cannabinoid, and the anandamide is what interacts with the CB2 receptors. So what does all of that mean? So I personally am a fan of a product called Copaiba over CBD oil. CBD is an oil, but it's not an essential oil, which means that essential oils are super concentrated and CBD oil is not. So a therapeutic dose of Copaiba essential oil would generally be like 1 to 2 drops. And the therapeutic dose for CBD is going to be significantly higher. It's usually like a dropper full. It really depends on what concentration you purchase, but it's always going to be a much larger volume than it would be for Copaiba, which among other things generally means that CBD is going to be a lot more expensive to use than Copaiba. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between CBD and Copaiba. So Copaiba is derived from the Copaiba tree. There are 4 different species of Copaiba tree in Brazil that doTERRA harvests the resin from. And because the Copaiba essential oil is derived from the resin of a tree and not from anything in the hemp or cannabis family, there is 0 THC. CBD is harvested from the hemp plant, which has a higher concentration of CBD than THC, but there is still THC present. So if the company that you're purchasing the CBD oil from doesn't do a super great job, it's possible that there could be THC contamination. The government says that in order to be marketed as CBD, it needs to have less than 0.3% THC. However, because CBD oil is not an FDA-approved medication, it does not have to go through any sort of testing for quality, purity, concentration, any of that through the government. So even though the company states that it doesn't have any THC, you have no way of knowing if that's true. Now, the same goes for Copaiba essential oil. Essential oils are not FDA regulated. However, doTERRA has an extremely rigorous 7-step quality process to make sure that from the time that the essential oil is harvested through distilling, through bottling, it's checked at 7 different points by multiple methods, both by in-house labs and third-party labs, to make sure that the product that you're getting from doTERRA is pure and what it says it is. And that makes me feel much more confident in the use of Copaiba. I mean, you have to do your due diligence to know your CBD producer to make sure that they're ethically testing it, to make sure that you're getting what you say you're getting and that you're not getting what's not on the label. But there's some other differences between Copaiba and CBD as well. So Copaiba also interacts with the CB2 receptors, but it uses a different phytocannabinoid. So the most prevalent phytocannabinoid in Copaiba is BCP, or beta-caryophyllene. And the cool thing about the concentration is that Copaiba essential oil has the highest beta-caryophyllene concentration of any known essential oil, and up to 60% of the total different types of constituents and molecules that are found in Copaiba is beta-caryophyllene, which is crazy. So when it comes to plant-based medicine, because a plant is not an isolated molecule, there's going to always be multiple what's called constituents or molecules that are in it. So when it comes to CBD, like I said, in the cannabis plant, you've got CBD, you've got THC, but there's also going to be upwards of hundreds of different other types of phytocannabinoids present. So the concentration of specifically CBD in the cannabis plant, depending on which species you've got, I mean, it's been grafted and changed so many times. When you purchase marijuana, there's like 100 different flavors, right? So same is true for CBD. Depending on which plant you get, you can have as low as like 2% CBD of the total constituents, and on the high end, you're looking at like maybe 40%. So beta-caryophyllene in Copaiba, to contrast that, 60% of the total constituents are beta-caryophyllene. So that's insane. That's a really high percentage of the total plant molecules being that active ingredient that we want. So beta-caryophyllene is present in a much higher concentration comparatively to CBD and CBD oil. And it's also much more potent because it interacts directly with the CBD, whereas CBD has to do indirect action through anandamide. Copaiba and beta-caryophyllene are having direct effects on CB2 receptors. What other differences are there? So let's just talk about generally what both do. So interaction with the CB2 receptor in studies has been shown to be supportive to lots of different systems. So cardiovascular health, digestive health, immune boosting. It's a powerful antioxidant. Copaiba helps to soothe and support the nervous system. And something that both CBD and Copaiba have gained a lot of popularity with is helping with anxious feelings. So you want to be taking 1 drop or 1 capsule whenever you're having those anxious feelings come on. The cool thing with Copaiba is that it's very, your exact dose that you're getting. So I really like to use the Copaiba soft gels. You can also use the Copaiba oil, but I don't particularly love the taste. It's a strong woodsy taste. So for me, the soft gel covers that up and it's a little bit easier to take. But you're getting, every time that you take Copaiba essential oil, you know exactly what you're getting. It's a dose. You have milligrams of beta-caryophyllene per drop per capsule. With CBD, hopefully you know, but a lot of times the labeling on the packages is very inaccurate, or they just don't even say. They just say take 1 dropper full, but you have no idea how many milligrams of CBD itself you're getting. They call it CBD oil, but there's also other phytocannabinoids in it. So by taking a dropper full that says this bottle contains 200 milligrams, that doesn't really break down to how much you're getting in each dose. So I love that the dosing is much more standardized with Copaiba. We also know what the max daily limit for Copaiba is, so you can take it up to once an hour, which is nice to know safety profile, that you have a upper limit, you know how frequently you can take it. Essential oils are great because they usually have very rapid onset, and then they also are eliminated quickly from your body. So the dosing windows can be much more frequent. You don't have nearly as much research on the pharmacokinetics of CBD, so it's harder to tell how frequently you can use it, what the max dose would be, etc. So that was a lot of words and a lot of acronyms, but I hope that makes this make a little more sense. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below.